If it is your custom, please stand as you're able for the playing of our national anthem. Beloved Obies, this invocation serves as a time for theist and non-theist alike to pause on the threshold of this grand occasion, to let our hearts catch up with us and to embrace all that this moment holds. Please join with me each in your own way as I share these words. Before Oberlin, this was the place of the Haudenosaunee, 6 nations bound by their humility with nature, spirit of gratitude, peacemaking, guided by truth and reason, whose highest praise for another translates real person. May their lessons teach us still, and may our lives lived each day be the active acknowledgments these truths require. And on these 13 acres, Oberlin has never been more proud than for you, the triumphant class of 2023. For all the joy we feel in this moment, we are not without loss, unspeakable grief. Today we remember Maura Olivero and the Olivero family. We remember colleagues, friends, and loved ones whose presence here at Tappan Square we sorely miss. This journey has been marked by challenges, heartaches, but also exhilarating moments, achievements unimagined. In all things, you belonged to one another. In striving to become all you were created to be, you have challenged Oberlin to live to its name, that it might be the Oberlin our world so desperately needs, to do justice and love mercy, when possible to extend grace, to stand by one another requiring no explanation, simply offering ourselves, to love earth and all its species as though our very life depends on it. It does. To behold one's fullness of self, the fullness of identities we carry, what we believe, who we love, or why we march, simply and always to uphold the dignity of all people. The late Bell Hooks, whose lessons taught in Oberlin still teach. Hope emerges from those places of struggle where we witness individuals positively transforming their lives and the world around them. May the learning and labor rooted here keep us, and may our lives lived after Oberlin be an expression of gratitude here for family, friends, beloved professors and mentors who have been at our side, the ones who believe in us. And may this place, Oberlin, be a rekindling place, a centering place in the years to come. And one thing more. May there be joy abundant on this day of all days, endless joy. Blessings on the class of 2023 and the Oberlin family always. May the degrees conferred here, relationships formed in Oberlin, prepare us for a world too great for anything but truth, too small for anything but love. May it be so.
Good morning. Welcome to Commencement 2023. I'm Chris Canavan, Chairman of the Oberlin College Board of Trustees. It is my honor to be with you today. Parents and families, faculty, emeriti faculty, alumni, trustees and honorary trustees, staff members, friends, and our distinguished honorees. Most important, it is my honor to recognize our students, the graduating class of 2023. I hope you are well, healthy, and proud. Perhaps you imagined this day when you first arrived at Oberlin. This day and all of the hard work that would go into getting to this day, classes, rehearsals, papers, labs, concerts, sports, internships, bands, study away, work, and more work. You're here, just as you might have imagined. But who among you would have imagined what came in between? COVID, quarantine, social distancing. I say this not to remind anyone of what this class of 2023 experienced. I say it to remind ourselves of the extraordinary efforts it took to get here today. The perseverance of our gifted students, the endurance and ingenuity of Oberlin's brilliant and committed faculty and staff, and the love and support of you, the friends and families of today's graduating class. I also say it to remember that the short time today's graduates have been at Oberlin has been a time not only of pandemics, but also of yet another public reckoning with the legacies of enslavement and colonization, with an assault on this country's democracy, with a dangerous turn towards the politics of grievances and vanities, and a climate crisis looming ever more dangerously. This class will forever be identified by these extraordinary times, just as the OBs of half a century ago were formed by the Vietnam War and the war at home. Indeed, Oberlin's history has been defined by these extraordinary times. The chapters in the story of our cherished, imperfect institution are marked by these times. Oberlin was founded in the crucible of abolitionism. Our Conservatory of Music opened at the end of the Civil War. The Allen Memorial Art Museum was established during World War I. We celebrate you, our graduates, and your incredible achievements, and we send you into the world prepared for these extraordinary times, just as we have sent graduates into the world for almost 2 centuries. We send you off to tame technology, to stop global warming, to heal our democracy. We send you off to show us what dignity, respect, and pride should mean in the 21st century. And we send you off, and as we send you off, we know that a piece of Oberlin leaves us. But I trust that Oberlin, your teachers, your mentors, your friends, the institution, remains with you as you venture forth in the world. I trust that when Oberlin calls, you will answer. When your fellow Oblis ask for ideas, your time, your treasure, whether to push Oberlin forward or to take us to task, you will answer the call, even after you have found new communities, new friends, and new families. Congratulations again, class of 2023. We're thrilled to send you off into the world, and we can't wait to see you again. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce to you the 15th President of Oberlin College, Carmen Twillie-Anbar.
This commencement marks the 190th year of Oberlin College and the 158th year of Oberlin Conservatory. I also want to add my congratulations and thanks to the class of 2023 for contributing so much to Oberlin's success. Right now, as you remain seated, students, I would like you to acknowledge the people who helped you be here today, namely your parents, your grandparents, your family, and your friends. I would also like to acknowledge the members of our distinguished faculty who are retiring this year. They are Johnny Coleman, Jonathan Field, Wendy Kozel, Stephen Mayer, T. Scott McMillan, Anu Needham, Clovis White, and Annette Yanuzzi. Thank you. And now nothing gives me greater pleasure than to introduce your class speaker, Sadie Owens. Sadie is a politics major with minors in educational studies, writing and communications, and philosophy. A Canton, Ohio native, Sadie has helped many students on campus successfully adjust to college. As a peer advisor leader, sophomore opportunities and resource mentor, and Bonner Scholar senior intern, Sadie has been committed to the student experience by helping students navigate campus resources and educational opportunities. Additionally, her campus leadership engagement has included Resource Generation College Organizing Fellow, a member of the Dean of Students Advisory Board, and president of Pitch, Please. Always thriving in collaborative and conversational environments, Sadie also serves as a course writing associate where she partners with faculty and assists students with their writing. Please welcome to the podium, Sadie Owens, your class speaker.
Good morning, everyone, and congratulations to all of you. I would be remiss if I didn't begin by saying thank you to every person at Oberlin College who has made it possible for me to stand here today. I am the first person in my family to have ever graduated college, an event, thank you. An event that I am all the more grateful to be sharing with you all in this remarkable place. When I think of Oberlin, community is the first word that comes to mind. I remember being 16 in my tiny childhood bedroom, forcing my best friend to watch a video of Oberlin students talk about the community here. I rewatched that video as I was writing this speech, and I was struck by how accurate it felt, despite being captured years before I ever set foot on campus. The thoughtfulness with which they talked about one another is what drew me here, and remains the foundation that Oberlin is built upon. However, it is also true that our community has gone through incredible and unimaginable changes over these 4 years. The class of 2023 has faced, yes, I have to say it, unprecedented times. We found ourselves isolated and alone, studying in childhood bedrooms and grappling with injustice and unrest. Our community was forced to transform in unimaginable ways. I have a vivid memory of noticing these transformations upon arriving to campus in the fall of 2021 for peer advising leaders training. Like so many others, I took a semester off in the midst of this chaos, and I was scared, terrified even, to return to campus. Though I was excited at the prospect of coming together once again, I felt a sense of unease as the date of first year's arrival quickly approached. Was I equipped, I wondered, to usher them into an Oberlin that felt so familiar and so different all at once? So many of us have stories like this, of rebuilding ourselves in the context of all that we have endured. My uneasiness melted away, however, as soon as the first years arrived, replaced by the new students' excitement and my fellow orientation leaders' dedication to welcoming them to our community. It was clear that the connectivity that I had cherished had not only survived, but had thrived throughout these challenges. The class of 2023 faced isolation and disconnect, but we have chosen love and community for the sheer value of loving and knowing one another. There is a quote that I love by Bell Hooks that defines this journey for me. She says, "Knowing how to be solitary is central to the art of loving. When we can be alone, we can be with others without using them as a means of escape." In the spring of 2023, we found ourselves separated from one another, forced to experience college solitarily. But instead, over time, we found ways to come together, holding talent shows over Zoom, exchanging poems over email, and making plans to reconnect when we could all be together again. We thought about each other in the same way that we think about ourselves, compulsorily, caringly, and continuously. It is because of this that you have become well-equipped for a world that needs community, healing, and love for the sake of loving more than ever. You are adaptable, patient, and pursuant of unity. This is the gift that we got from Oberlin, and that we now have both the opportunity and the obligation to pass on. To me, the defining transformation that we have undergone is not the one that we were forced to endure. It is all of the transformation that we have chosen as a collective body dedicated to leaving this place better than when we found it. When we unabashedly committed to keeping one another safe, dove headfirst into creating new organizations for social justice, and chose to rebuild an Oberlin that felt authentic to the one we'd inherited, we were practicing the art of transformation. We went beyond survival and pursued reconstruction. We changed with each other's needs in mind. We chose to pursue community even when our world was unpredictable and overwhelming. The world that we're graduating into may feel different too. Our day-to-day lives may come to seem separate from those unprecedented times, for some more than others. I implore you to remember the hard work that was done by faculty, staff, and your fellow students from the conservatory to the college to come back together again. For me, this is exemplified by Julie, the custodian of my first year dorm, who still texts me to tell me that she's proud of me. She texted me this morning and she's watching via live stream today, and who comments on every Facebook post that I make to this day. These moments represent the art of transformation as a means of building community, not just existing within it. Take these lessons with you to the spaces that you occupy next. Continue to love for the sake of loving and care for the sake of caring. Connection, as we have pursued it, unabashedly, is not only an act of community building. It is an act of resistance, and it cannot be taken from us. Perhaps most importantly, it is us. Together, the class of 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Sadie. Since you're about to become alumni, it's my pleasure to introduce you to one of our key alumni leaders and president of the Oberlin College Alumni Association, Young Kim, class of 1985.
Congratulations, class of 2023. We are overjoyed to welcome you to the Oberlin Alumni Association. The Alumni Medal is the highest honor the Oberlin Alumni Association bestows. It recognizes outstanding, sustained, and unique service to Oberlin College, and as president of the Alumni Association, I'm honored to present the 2023 Alumni Medal to Cindy Brown. For more than 4 decades, Cindy Brown has engaged in service to Oberlin College and Oberlin alumni. Serving for years as the Regional Alumni Coordinator in Columbus, Ohio, she planned concerts, outdoor events, art museum lectures, and dinners. She invited Oberlin professors to talk with alumni about their fields and organized admissions events for prospective students. She has taken part in projects that have connected Oberlin's president with Fisk University leaders, celebrating the two institutions' historic relationship. Internationally, Cindy has met alumni in Tokyo and worked with the Cluny Museum in Paris to host an event for Oberlin alumni in Europe. Within the Oberlin Alumni Association, Cindy has served as chair of the Nominations Committee, a member of the Trustees Search Committee, and led the Executive Board's Governance and Bylaws Committees. Oberlin students have benefited from your unfailing commitment to Oberlin College and Conservatory, Cindy, and you exemplify the best of Oberlin values in your service to the college and the community at large. With gratitude, it's our pleasure to present you with the 2023 Alumni Medal. Thank you. Congratulations.
Our next award continues Oberlin's long tradition of recognizing community leaders for their service and achievements. I would like to begin by asking the candidate for the award of Distinguished Service to the Community to please present himself. Presenting the award will be Emeritus Professor of Chemistry, Robert Thompson.
Parents and families, distinguished guests. Gene Matthews' life is entwined with Oberlin. 40 years ago and 2 blocks west, after service in the U.S. Navy, Gene honed his trade in the Oberlin College electric shop. On the basis of his technical skills, work ethic, and caring nature, he rose through the ranks, ultimately becoming Director of Facility Services at Case Western Reserve University. Upon his retirement in 2015, as soon as he could, Gene moved from Bay Village to Oberlin, back to the community that he loves. Over my shoulder is Oberlin's historic meeting house and First Church. Every day for 2 years, Gene was there, overcoming obstacles and the unforeseen to see a $1 million renovation project through to a very successful conclusion. All around town, Gene's Pay It Forward program is helping other churches save energy costs by swapping incandescent lights for LEDs. And Gene and a small group of Oberlin citizens encouraged over 40 homeowners and businesses to install solar photovoltaics. Ad hoc committees, boards, and commissions for the City of Oberlin, the Oberlin Heritage Center, Oberlin Community Services, and Kendall at Oberlin have all benefited from Gene's extensive experience and can-do attitude. Gene helps whomever, wherever, and whenever he can with a smile and a joke. Jokes corny, salty, and told with glee. The seemingly unlimited time and energy he has offered is a testament to his love of neighbor and of this city. While not an academic graduate of Oberlin College, Gene nonetheless can be counted as one of the college's many success stories, a life that indeed has made this community and this world a better place. Therefore, it is my honor, Madam President, to present my good friend, Eugene C. Matthews, for this year's award for distinguished service to the community.
We will now begin awarding this year's honorary degrees. The first candidate for the Doctor of Fine Arts, Natasha Cass, had a last-minute change in her schedule and could not be with us today. So we will do all we can to invite her back next year to honor her achievements. Will the candidate for the honorary degree of Doctor of Science please present herself? Presenting the award will be Jeff Whitmer, Professor of Mathematics.
President Ambar, members of the faculty, graduating students, parents and family, and honored guests. It is my honor to present Crystal Donnelly, Professor and Head of the Department of Applied Statistics at the University of Oxford, for the degree Doctor of Science. Before becoming one of the world's leading experts in infectious disease epidemiology, Crystal graduated from Oberlin in 1988. Many years later, when the class of 2023 was enjoying their first year of college, COVID-19 turned the world upside down. When a crisis like this hits humankind, we turn to science for answers. What causes this disease? How does it spread? What can we do to stop it? Fortunately, people like Crystal Donnelly were ready to help with answers. You see, COVID-19 was the third fatal coronavirus to hit humankind in recent years, following SARS in 2003 and MERS in 2012. Crystal was the lead author on the first scientific paper about SARS, a paper that has been cited more than 1,200 times by other scholars. And Crystal has studied many infectious diseases, including the Zika virus, Ebola, malaria, HIV/AIDS. She has testified before Congress about mad cow disease. I'll bite my tongue and not tell a joke about mad cows and members of Congress. The hundreds of papers that Crystal and her co-authors have written have been cited more than 64,000 times. This includes 78 papers on COVID-19 that helped to guide international response to the pandemic. It is my honor, Madam President, to present Crystal Donnelly for the degree Doctor of Science.
Crystal Donnelly, class of 1988. Award-winning statistician and epidemiologist whose work informed COVID-19 policies, head of the Department of Statistics at the University of Oxford, and former deputy director of the World Health Organization's Collaborating Center for Infectious Disease Modeling at Imperial College in London. In the name of Oberlin College, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Science with all the rights, privileges, and honors thereunto appertaining. Will the candidate for honorary degree of Doctors of Humanities please present himself? Presenting the award will be Natalie Winkelfuss, Delta Lodge Director of Athletics and Physical Education, and Associate Vice President for Athletics Advancement.
President Ambar, members of the faculty, graduating students, parents and families, and distinguished guests. During the historical 19th Olympiad in Mexico City in the summer of 1968, Tommie Smith broke both the world and Olympic records with a time of 19.83 seconds and became the 200-meter Olympic champion. This massive victory also came with a silent yet iconic gesture that roared in support of human rights and requested attention be given to the inequalities of our country. As the Star-Spangled Banner played in the wind, Tommie and teammate John Carlos stood on that victory podium, dressed in their Olympic medals. Each raised a clenched fist covered in a black leather glove in a historic stand for liberation and solidarity. This courageous, unexpected worldwide action propelled Tommie into the spotlight as a human rights spokesman, activist, and symbol of African American pride at home and abroad. This 90-second protest on the medal podium also led to his removal from the Games and exclusion from national and world athletic competition. Post-Olympics, post-NFL, post-college degree, Oberlin College welcomed Tommy Smith. He served Oberlin as athletics director while also coaching cross country, track and field, basketball, and football. He was also a professor of physical education, teaching inspiring courses that explored intersections of sports, race, and society. Along with many other achievements, Tommy has received the Arthur Ashe Courage Award and was inducted into the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Hall of Fame. Cheered by some, jeered by others, Tommy Smith made a commitment to dedicate his life, even at great personal risk, to champion the cause of oppressed people. With great humility, great love, and great respect, it is my honor, Madam President, to present Tommy Smith for the degree Doctor of Humanities.
Tommy Smith, track and field athlete who won the gold medal in the 200-meter dash in the 1968 Summer Olympics, author, coach, and educator, and human rights spokesperson, and symbol of African American pride. In the name of Oberlin College, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Humanities with all the rights, privileges, and honors thereunto appertaining. Will the candidate for the honorary degree of Doctor of Humanities please present himself? Presenting the award will be Jay Fiskio, Professor of Environmental Studies and Comparative American Studies.
President Ambar, members of the faculty, graduating students, parents and family, and distinguished guests. It is my honor to introduce Major Joe Womack of Africatown, Alabama. Africatown is the location where the last ship of enslaved people landed in 1860. 5 years later, the survivors of the ship Clotilda formed Africantown. They bought lands, built homes and a school, and created a thriving community that has been a sanctuary for Black Americans ever since. However, like many historic Black towns along the Gulf Coast, Africatown has been surrounded by polluting industries. This story has been beautifully told in the documentary Descendant, which was distributed by President and First Lady Obama's film company, Higher Ground, and is currently available on Netflix. Since his retirement, Major Joe has devoted his time and extraordinary energy to leading the fight for environmental justice and a thriving future for Africatown. He has described his role in the community with 3 words: protect, preserve, and prolong, and his leadership has inspired a new vision for a just and sustainable future for his hometown. He has co-founded at least 7 community organizations and currently leads the nonprofit organization CHESS, Clean, Healthy, Educated, Safe, and Sustainable, which was founded in partnership with Dr. Robert Bullard and the Deep South Center for Environmental Justice. Most recently, in 2019, he co-founded the Africatown Heritage Preservation Foundation, which promotes stewardship and awareness of the historic, cultural, and economic value of Africatown. This July 8th, the foundation will open an important new site devoted to these goals, the Africatown Heritage House. Major Joe's role as an organizer and inspiring leader have brought him national and international attention. He is regularly interviewed in major news outlets and invited to speak at universities and other venues around the world to share the story of Africatown with the world. Major Joe's generosity and hospitality have been the foundation of a nearly decade-long collaboration between Africatown and Oberlin College. I first met Major Joe during his first visit to Oberlin in the fall of 2014, when he spoke about Africatown's past, present, and future. I asked what Oberlin could do to support Africatown's struggle for justice, and he said, "Bring your students down for spring break and we'll put you to work." Since then, Major Joe has mentored more than 40 Oberlin students by serving on honors thesis committees, leading immersions in Africatown, serving as a collaborator on research grants, and directing research projects. He generously shared his time and knowledge and has been an incredible teacher, mentor, and friend to the students and faculty of Oberlin College. His impact on our lives has been transformative. I am profoundly grateful to Major Joe for the way he has welcomed our students and formed an enduring friendship between our communities. It is my honor, Madam President, to present Major Joe Womack, proud graduate of the Mobile County Training School, for the degree of Doctor of Humanities.
Major Joe Womack, community activist, co-founder of the Africatown Heritage Preservation Foundation, retired U.S. Marine Corps Major, an inspiring leader who promotes positive and sustainable change. In the name of Oberlin College, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Humanities with all the rights, privileges, and honors thereunto appertaining. Will the candidate for honorary degree of Doctorate of Humanities please present himself? Presenting the award will be Valerie Hotchkiss, Director of Libraries and Professor of English and Book Studies.
President Ambar, members of the faculty, graduating students, parents and family, and distinguished guests, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce Richard Powers, a Pulitzer Prize-winning author who has been called the greatest living novelist and pronounced the heir to Tolstoy by the New York Times. Margaret Atwood, in a review of Orfeo, his novel about music and technology, said, quote, "If Powers were an American writer of the 19th century, he'd be the Herman Melville of Moby Dick. His picture is that big," end quote. Lucky for us, Powers is right here in the 21st century and very much a novelist of the big ideas of our times. Thus far, he's published 13 novels, each of them garnering scores of prizes, and all of them through fiction, realism, and metafiction, delving into the quintessential challenges of our day, issues that matter to all of us here at Oberlin. In his novel, The Time of Our Singing, Powers set the story of race in America to music that must be heard. In Galateo 2.2, he anticipated by several decades our current anxiety about artificial intelligence. And then he went even deeper into neuroscience and technology in his latest novel, Bewilderment. And no report or manifesto on climate change can match the forcefulness of the Overstory as a call to action on this existential issue of our times. That is the power of Richard Powers. Again and again, Powers makes brilliant use of his academic training in science and the humanities to create books that transform readers. Powers himself has said that, quote, "The best arguments in the world won't change a person's mind. The only thing that can do that is a good story," end quote. Please keep those good stories coming, Mr. Powers. You are changing the minds that might just change this world. It is my honor, Madam President, to present Richard Powers for the degree of Doctor of Humanities.
Richard Powers, best-selling novelist and essayist known for literary works that blend science, technology, and the human experience, recipient of a MacArthur Fellowship and a Pulitzer Prize, accomplished musician and polymath. In the name of Oberlin College, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Humanities with all the rights, privileges, and honors thereunto appertaining. It is now my honor to ask Dr. Richard Powers to deliver the 2023 Commencement Address.
Madam President, staff and faculty, administrators and trustees, parents, family, friends, and other champions and supporters, on this 190th anniversary, I salute the youngest class to graduate from the oldest integrated coeducational liberal arts college in the United States, the Oberlin class of 2023. People in the storytelling business often talk about a classic four-part sequence hidden inside most of humanity's stories. Exposition puts all the stakes on the table. A crisis upends things as they are, which leads to rising action, where the stakes go up as the characters suffer the consequences of ever more excruciating choices. Rising action then builds inexorably to climax, where all the escalating conflicts reach their breaking point. Finally, in the denouement, a new order of things emerges from the climax's wreckage, and the story ends in a changed world. And here you all are, filled with some mixture of relief, excitement, and abject terror as your long exposition comes to an end and your life's rising action is about to commence at last, if you can only make it through 20 more minutes of an almost dead cis white male. The commencement speech is a terrifying genre. By convention, it consists mostly of people who can't remember what it is to be young, telling people who can't imagine what it is to be old, all the bits of wisdom that they themselves ignored at their own commencement centuries ago. But as I was preparing this speech, struck by how this college shaped so many people that I love, and even more amazed to discover how disproportionately it has shaped this country, I did remember something about my own life's exposition. It shocked me to recall that I very nearly went to Oberlin. In high school, I was crazy in love with a woman who played the cello, which I also played. She was a year ahead of me, and she badly wanted to go to the conservatory. So she sent off her audition cassette tape in the mail, if you can imagine that, and heard back sometime later that she had not been admitted. She ended up attending the University of Illinois, and I, who in the words of a famous Oberlin alum, was sleepwalking through my days, not quite hearing what was said to me and not quite seeing where I was going, followed her downstate the next year. But had she played that jig from the third Bach cello suite just a little bit better, I would have followed her here, and had I been accepted, come up for air 4 years later in the class of '79. Instead, I went to U of I as a physics major, which suited my father. He too had gone to Illinois, the first in his family to go to college, courtesy of the GI Bill, which put so many World War II vets through school. My father wanted to be a scientist, but he couldn't hack the math. So he became a school principal and raised me to love education and follow the path that he could not. Everything I now remember learning in college, I can fit on a single sheet of paper. One side. This speech takes 6. There's something really wrong with that. But my first semester at Illinois was filled with Gibbs free energy and Taylor's theorem and sp3 orbital hybridization. My girlfriend and I lived in the same dorm, working hard, but often wondering why. As the country tore itself apart and the doomsday clock kept by the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists advanced from 9 minutes before midnight to 7, its lowest setting since the Cuban Missile Crisis. I remember sitting in a physical chemistry lecture with hundreds of other students, listening to the professor describe what aerosols and refrigerants were doing to the ozone hole and thinking, forget the Russians and the bomb. We have completely hosed ourselves. Only we didn't say hosed back then. It was in that weird mix of daily discovery, intellectual awakening, and steady dread that I took a course in how to read fiction. The professor was as wise a human being as I'd ever met, and he spoke in sentences so ingenious that I used to fall asleep at night trying to reproduce them. It blindsided me one day when reading for that class, I came to the end of a story in a famous collection by an odd Irishman who ran one of the wildest experiments in the history of literature, and found myself in tears. I could not stop crying, and I couldn't understand why. The story was about a man who suddenly realizes that he does not know his own wife, that he has failed to understand his own privileges, that he's sleepwalking through his days, a stranger to himself in his own life. The story ends with the snow falling, softly falling on this character who I loved but didn't know from Adam. And as I sat there crying over nothing and nobody, it astonished me to realize that I wasn't going to become a scientist after all. I hid the news from my father for as long as I could. My girlfriend went on to do graduate work at Oxford. We carried on our love affair via aerograms. I can explain these afterwards to anyone who's interested. That took 10 days to travel back and forth across the Atlantic. When my father found out that I wanted to study literature, he took the news hard, but he made no objections. Early in my final year of school, he was diagnosed with colon cancer, and before I graduated, he was dead. If your parent or parents are here with you today and they want to take lots of pictures of you in your robes, please don't roll your eyes. That same year, I broke up with the woman who had led me to Illinois via a series of aerograms, each taking 2 weeks to cross the ocean. Devastated, I did what any lost boy my age would do to get through the pain. I looked up her best friend. This new love, a flutist, was going to a conservatory in Boston. And when I graduated, she invited me to come out and be with her. I could not imagine a more exciting graduation adventure. That hard winter, I pared all my possessions down to one suitcase and a guitar, which left me feeling like a Simon and Garfunkel song. They were a singing duo. I put my life savings of $1,600 into a cashier's note. For liquidity, I bought $400 worth of traveler's checks. Another technology that will be totally inexplicable to you, but one that we were told never to leave home without. I got on a Greyhound bus, which took 55 hours to get from Urbana to Boston. Arriving in Boston in the middle of a brutal New England snowstorm, I figured out the public trans system and made my way to my new girlfriend's apartment in Jamaica Plain. She met me at the door to explain that things had changed in the 2.5 days that I had spent on the bus. She had gotten involved with a trumpet player. She said that, of course, I was welcome to sleep on her couch when I got my feet on the ground, until I got my feet on the ground. I remember my first thought was, not a trumpet player. Please, God, not a trumpet player. Pride prevented me from accepting the couch. I deposited my cashier's check in a Boston bank, but couldn't touch the funds for 2 weeks until they cleared. Thanks to my traveler's checks, don't leave home without them, I soon found a room in a boarding house in Somerville that was the love child of an H.P. Lovecraft story and a David Lynch film. It occurred to me belatedly that I was in trouble. I was in a strange city under 2 feet of snow, with no job, no contacts, no ready money, and a degree in English literature. And I didn't even know where I could go to get a resume printed up. In a matter of days, I had gone from insane self-confidence to wild despair. Then I succumbed to the worst stomach flu of my life, one so bad I couldn't even keep down a glass of water. I lay in my sinister rooming house one evening as my thoughts circled down to a very dark place. My life had jumped the track. I didn't see how I could possibly get it back on course. I didn't want what was happening, and I couldn't reverse it. What had I been thinking? My father was right. I had thrown away my education and my future. Oblivion began to seem like such a simple cure-all. My thoughts began to spiral away from me. I knew I had to get out of the house or risk real craziness. I started to walk, and I walked for a long time, through Cambridge and down to the Mass Ave Bridge over the Charles. I stood on the bridge and looked out over the river to Boston. The city was blazing against the winter sky. How many of those 700,000 people were living lives that had jumped the tracks? How many had gotten lost in the tens of thousands of years that people had been living along the Quinogaquin? How many were lost and worse right now? How many were being drowned by a culture that would always destroy its marginalized while letting people like me float? How many were sleeping in the snow? How many were crippled by racism, suffering from injustice, or nursing runaway tumors, facing real disasters that made mine look laughable? Out there on the Mass Ave Bridge, the disastrous turn of my life began to unfold into another thing. It had turned clarifying. It led me into a whole new place, a city filled with 1 million catastrophic stories that had a hidden tie to mine. It dawned on me in that moment that I might try to do justice to some of them through words. And then what happened? Then I turned around and went back to my room in the David Lynch Hilton. The dungeon now looked like the setting for a story. The next day, I looked for a place where I could typeset a resume, a search filled with all kinds of comic twists. I got a job that still wasn't my job, in an apartment that still wasn't my apartment, but both were rich with material. Then came some rising action, and some more rising action, more jobs and houses, and lots of mineable stories, eventually leading to a climax or two, until finally, here I am getting my degree from Oberlin at last, as part of the illustrious class of 2023. In case you're wondering about the denouement, I made friends with my first girlfriend again later in life. She has even showed me around Oxford and London. I made friends with my second girlfriend too, after some decades. In fact, I've recently worked with her on various performance projects. She apologized for the trumpet player, who is, alas, lost to history. I became good friends with my college lit professor, the one who taught me to read, and I sat vigil by his bedside for weeks while he died of lung cancer. He told me he thought any reasonable father would have liked my first book. I tell you all this by way of saying that you have no idea in creation what is about to happen to you. It won't be what you want. It may feel like a catastrophe. And yet, it may also be the most clarifying thing if you can step back and read it as part of a story that is much more than yours. Learning to read your life as an unfolding story turns the whole logic of time inside out. In English, we say that the future lies open in front of us, while the unchanging past is behind. But a life led as a story obeys an idea of time more like that in Vietnamese or Aymara, an Andean language, where the past is in front of us, always there to see and reinterpret, while we walk backwards into the invisible future. Peter Brooks nails this in his book, Reading for the Plot. We read, he says, in anticipation of retrospection. When we're on page 16, early in the exposition, we know that the ending is out there on page 365, already written. The future of our lives, like the future of a book, is oddly fixed precisely because we can't know it. It's the visible past that keeps changing. Every time we turn another page, these last 4 years at Oberlin will have become a million different things to you by the time you're my age. Now, all my crises were cakewalks compared to yours. The doomsday clock of 2023 sits at 90 seconds, the lowest it has ever been. Our country is tearing itself apart worse than it did in the age of aerograms. Rampant racism is increasingly overt. The globe's climate system has broken down. A third of the world's species are vanishing. All that and ChatGPT just stole your job. The world, as you know it, is ending. But every ending is also a commencement. And there is so much work to do to rehabilitate this place, endless work that no one will do if you don't. It isn't the work of partisan righteousness. It's the work of empathy and reconnection and rereading. And the work begins, as always, with learning to see all your private disasters as forces in a story so much larger and more compelling than you know. Consider that what feels like this moment's raging fever may only be morning sickness, for today is pregnant with a tomorrow whose children are just now being delivered. So on that single sheet of paper of all the things you'll remember from college when you're old, scribble this into the margin. They're the words of a wild poet whose sexual orientation could have landed him in prison, a man whose world was torn apart by technologies he never understood, and who lived to see his countrymen slaughter one another by the hundreds of thousands over who gets to be a human being. In the middle of that slaughter, he wrote, "Over the carnage rose prophetic a voice, be not disheartened. Affection shall solve the problems of freedom yet. Those who love each other shall become invincible." I read those words when I was young and lost in my own exposition, and they have come to mean so many new things with each passing year. Graduates, I stand here looking out on you, my changing past, while you are backing up into your still hidden future. Oberlin class of 2023, it's time to become invincible.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. No remarks from me given that address. All I will say to you is that the only thing left for you to do is to go out and fulfill your destiny. Congratulations to the class of 2023. Let us proceed with the conferring of degrees. We would ask that you remain in Tappan Square until all of the class of 2023 has received their diplomas. The candidates for Bachelors of Music and Masters of Music in Historical Performance, Artist Diploma, Bachelors of Music, and double degree of Bachelor's Arts and Bachelor's of Music will be presented by the Dean of the Conservatory, William Quillen.
President Ambar, it is my distinct pleasure to present the candidate of the class of 2023 who's been recommended to the faculty of the Conservatory of Music and to the general faculty for the degree of Bachelor of Music and Master of Music in Historical Performance. Will the candidate for the degree of Bachelor of Music and Master of Music in Historical Performance please rise and please present himself?
In the name of Oberlin College, I confer upon you who have completed the prescribed requirements with all rights, privileges, and honors pertaining to your degree. I invite you to receive the diploma which signifies that degree.
Luka Stefanovic. Oh, hold on. If you could hold on 1 second, please.
In the name of Oberlin College, I confer upon you who have completed the prescribed requirements with all rights, privileges, and honors pertaining to your degree. I invite you to receive your diploma which certifies this degree.
Thank you, President Ambar. And this is for the degree of the Artist Diploma, Yun Lang Lang. We now move to the degree of Bachelor of Music. President Ambar, it is my distinct pleasure to present these candidates of the class of 2023 who have been recommended to the faculty of the Conservatory of Music and to the general faculty for the degree of Bachelor of Music. Will the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Music please rise?
In the name of Oberlin College, I confer upon you who have completed the prescribed requirements with all rights, privileges, and honors pertaining to your degree. I invite you to receive a diploma which certifies this degree.
Daniel Cochise Assis. Samantha Michelle Atlas. Alexander Ayub. Gabriel L. Baskin. Zoe Cameron Bell. Caden Brusette. Kylie Parcell Buckham. Adrian Zoe Berg. Young Ray Tsai. Nisha Coyote. Adeline Elizabeth Carter. Kai Min Chong. Adam Shimon Klebek. Ji Hun Cheon. Angelo Ciriello. Jacob Clements. Jared Devin Cohen. Matthew Stephen Cohn. Stephen Scott Kazuli. Gabriel Cruz Ruiz. Christopher Packer Dolke. Clara Isabel White Damer. Jasper DeBoer. Aviva Frost. Lauren Goff. Rolando Hardy Gomez. L. Gully. Charlie Hamilton. Samuel Yufeng Hao. Kurtan Everett Harrison III. Isabel Hoyu. Natalie Shea. Emma Catherine Human. Callie Mackenzie Iliff. Ija John Jiang. Sunu Ju. Sophia Joanne Kyle. Lucy Curie Kim. Armin Matthew Krakirian. Kylie Amanda Kreuscher. Andrew Groman Lefevre. Kyra Kathleen Leitz. Mariah Natasha Leandopoulou Cochran. Van Levy. Nat Lewis. Chingchun Lee. Jiaming Li. Ishan? Yep, Ishan. Yep. Ishan Lee. Jolyn Elin Lin. Emily Rose Mandel. Logan Manning. Stephanie Karen Manning. Christopher Tyreek McDowell. Kira McGuire. Jonathan Lawrence Motes. Emma Murphy. AJ Newbert. Archer Stone Parks. Jillian Brett Piper. Caitlin Elizabeth Putker. Guwani Annie Chin. Amber Gwendolyn Rogers. Nathaniel Isaac Romero. Ezra Rudell. Isaac Santos. Kenneth Wiembe Schaefer. Maxwell Zane Schultz. Isaiah Edward Shaw. Noah Benjamin Sherman. Tyler Smith. Jonah Allen Stuckey. Chune Tajima. Maxim Konstantinovich Tikhonov. Brian Russell Wacker. Yingqi Wang. Eric Jonathan Weaver. Morgan Sybil Wolf. Isaac Raymond Wooten. Natasha Wu. Yiga Angela Shui. Rachel Yi. Madeline Zeri. Yijia Zhang. Jacob Danny Zaccardi. We will now move to the double degree, to the degree of Bachelor of Arts and the Bachelor of Music. And President Ambar, it is my distinct pleasure to present these candidates of the class of 2023 who have been recommended to the faculties of the Conservatory of Music and of the College of Arts and Sciences, and to the general faculty for the double degrees of Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Music. Will the candidates for the double degree please rise and please present yourselves?
In the name of Oberlin College, I confer upon you who have completed the prescribed requirements with all the rights, privileges, and honors pertaining to your degree. I invite you to receive the diploma which certifies this degree.
Kenji Tyler Anderson. Jake Michael Balmuth. Risako Sophia Betty. Curtis Bird. Samuel Cheryl Harper Brinkley. Wilson Curtis Burnett. Benjamin Xavier Bird. Cameron Mohan Curlin. Samuel Christopher Eric Davies. Amanda Nadine Day. Michelle Eggleston. Kishin Fu. Herver Hernandez. Catherine Eleanor Johnson. Daniel Jordan. Lily Emma Judge. Frederick Andrew Meckler. Larissa Katarina Michelle. Claire Obrakta. Sagana Ambrose Ondande. Maureen Sheehan. Rayleigh Stern Yen. Isaiah Benjamin Wales. Matthew Walton.
We will now confer the degree of Bachelor of Arts for the class of 2023. The candidates will be presented by Dean David Kamitsika.
Will the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts please present themselves? Okay. President Ambar, it is my distinct pleasure to present the candidates of the class of 2023 who have been recommended by the faculty of the College of Arts and Sciences and the general faculty of Oberlin College for the degree of Bachelor of Arts. Will the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts please rise?
In the name of Oberlin College, I confer upon you who have completed the prescribed requirements with all rights, privileges, and honors pertaining to your degree. I invite you to receive the diploma which signifies this degree.
Osama Abdel Rahman. David Withington Abdo II. Emiko Hattori Abe. Neda Agedi. Roya Ahmedi Mogadam. Riyad Samuel Alam. Emily Ann Alfano. Christopher Lawrence Allen, Jr. Kari Elise Sanders Allen. Ali Riyad Alotbi. Mary Kai Amarti. Anire Kim Amoda. Gideon Opoku Ompofo. Max Anastasio. Garrett Anderson. Grace Evelyn Anderson. Julian Lane Anderson. Owen Von Anderson. Saad Anjum. Luke Thomas Antonelli. Osman Khalid Anwar. Ruma Arabati. So Asidao. Ada Atesh. Veronica Ayers. Hannah Elizabeth McLean Babe. Vanessa Nicole Baker. Haley Morgan Barch. William Galvin Bass. Liam Robert Baxter Healy. Beanie Bedford Panori. Catherine Beeman. Samuel Xavier Beasley. Zoe Benfelt. Alondria Bellamy. Jonah Nelson Belsky. Henry Berg. Bianca Kelly Berger. Miles Berry. Aria Kaylee Berryman. Victoria Blair. Reed Matthew Bobrovnitsky. Finn A. Bozeman. Jared Jacob Boren. Benjamin Eitan Borzakowski. Hannah Rondalyn Boyan. Emery Bradley. Kali Enakti Braun. Ella Sydney Braunstein. Adelaide Rose Breen. Will James Brenham. Colin David Brinson. Olivia Bell Bross. Samuel B. Browning. Logan Matthew Broyles. Ava Isabel Buchanan. Caitlin Grace Bull. Edward Anthony Burgos. Audrey Gail Berkey. Grace Burns. Benjamin Wolf Burton. Larissa Bushkin. Eli Butler. Zach Butter. Julie Marie Caffrey. Rory Thomas Michael Callison. Molly Cameron. Travis Coleman Khan. Elias Samuel Didier Kennison. Theodore Lev Cantor. Peter Tsao. Ryan Carwile. Chloe Kesdagli. Annie Castillo. Gabriela Castillo. Eduardo Andres Castro Munoz. Chloe Bennett Cataneo. Ariana Cervantes. Maximus Yonghua Cha. Lola Alice Chalmers DeBell. Alexandria Catherine Chase. Li Ming Chen. Chen Wei Yu. Yunjiang Che. Henley Childress. Peter Hyunmyung Choi. Rachel Choi. Simona Lara Clampin. Benjamin Bradford Clark. Julia Marie Clark. Mackenzie Merritt Schuyler Cohn. Marissa Rose Collins. Linnea Catherine Colton. Charlotte Kanemacher. Ali Connors. Avery Walker Qureshi. Julia Cornell. Wilder Joseph Martin Kasabun son. Sophie Kotrakia. Aiden Joshua Cowie. Anna Cowie. Alexander Cox. Henry Solomon Crampton Hayes. Georgia Krieger. Wilson Crook. Gwyneth Crossman. Anna Kroll. Jasper Patrick Curtis. Kevin Marie Danyezi. Rachel Dow. Iluin Darlington Bai. Maya Das O'Toole. Elliot Davey. Kyra Rose Davis. Alexandra Lee Davison. Robert Fro De Luna. Kobe Elizabeth De Leon. Sirsha Anya Niemsik Dempsey. Ruby Francis Deneen. Brandon Morrow Denton. Elliot Trevor Diaz. Antonina Jason DeValentin. Annabelle Grace Dobbin. Yu Hong Dong. Ross Aldo Dorfany. Lucas Draper. Isaac Benjamin Dreben. Elisabetta Julia Anna Duffy Boscali. Christine Dugas. Noemi Ariel Deborah Duker. Wee Tao Duong. Emilia Francis Dusarick. Benjamin Atticus Eccles. Hewlin Isaac Edward. Jack Egan. Kelly Egan. Boo Elliott. Leave Seong Elmore. John Samuel Elrod. Margaret Rachel Elson. Nathan Miller Engelhart. Mara Zook Insman. Miriam Bunce Entenbell. Grace Isabella Ertel. Mayu Olivia Evans. Sydney Fagerstrom. Reagan Drew Farmer. Fiona Maureen Farrell. Benjamin Dirks Fauerbach. Lindsay Camille Felton. Gillian Catherine Ferguson. Alessandro Eric Ferrazza. Fudi Yang Fickenshire. Clara Marie Fields. Augustin Fisher. Ava Mimi Fisherman. Evelyn Margaret Stanbro Ford. Saffron Pagan Forsberg. Hannah Rose Fowler. Anna Francis. Camille Alexandra Franklin. Alexander Saint Frankie. Maurice Anthony Fries. Theodore Fry. Naomi Rose Friedman. Jenna Kristen Frizzell. Abraham Daniel Frolickstein Appel. Margaret Elizabeth Frost. Ella Myra Fruchter. Chi Jian Fu. Chase McClovio Fulkerson. Yu Han Gao. Yanni Garrett Gardner. Alec James Gambala. Gwendolyn Mary Gemmel. Riley Gillibrand. Colette Estelle Goggin. Liana Marie Go. Lena Elizabeth Golia. Kobe Juliet Gomes. Eliza Goodell. Reginald E. Godot. Kai St. Clair Hoodsmith. Rowan Gould Beba. Louis Cole Yandarin Gounden. Kira Gusias. Henry Thomas Graham. India Dorothea Gray. Athena Ruth Graves. Chance David Green. Karis Kanthi Gross. Vivian Gruel. Daniel Carl Goodjohnson. Shi Wei Guo. Sagar Gupta. Avi Peter Gurfinkel. Zola Haber. Samson Han Madol. Ella Day Halbert. Dylan Hamburger. Isaiah James Hutchison Hammer. Donnie Aaron Harris. Eleanor Sapphire Harris Evans. Miles Silcox Harris Bauer. Emma Grace Hart. Puck Hartso. Theo King Haviland. Desmond Leroy Hearn Maury. Josue Isaiah Hernandez. Sophia Heron Geller. Natalie Therese Hickerson. Leo Heidi. Rose Keiko Aaron Higa. Carla Hinojosa Valdivia. Hillel E. Hinton Williams. Mai Huang. Lillian Greer Hobbs. Mev Hogan. Catherine Olivia Horowitz. Kyla Surley Horton. Isabella Svensson Hool. Ren Jean House. Nicholas Michael Howell. Ursula Iluna Hudak. Jonas Huffer. Tegan Hughes. Hannah Humphrey. Noah Geen Hunsaker. Kara M. Innes. Natalie Rose Ivy. Hunter James Jackson. Looking good. L. Joshua Jackson. Olivia Jaffe. Oh. Olivia Jaffe. Ana Quiteria Jeffress. Claire Marion Trolin Jenish. Elizabeth Rose Jensen. Zaria Rebecca Johnson. Lily Rose German. Claire Vasiliki Kaliski. Paul Joseph Kamitska. Eugene Kang. Noah Benjamin Cantor. Atticus Kaplan. Kushagra Carr. Ernst Richard Kausha. Thomas Burns Kay. Shayla Simone Keegan. Valerie Dare Kellner. Eleanor Kennedy Lang. Nada Kisu. Ellie Kidder. John Callanish Kilfoyle. Jane Down Kim. Aries King. Darian Adonis Knowles. William Dupree Knowles Kelnett. Nihal Nihal Kordavati. Adrian Koritz. Olivia Pendro Kovacs. Lauren Renee Cranus. Hannah Catherine Chris. Aishvarya Krishnaswamy. Sydney Ann Kulkarni. Tyler Scott Cupcho. Joshua Kupka. Zoe Ariel Kazbari. Evan Leidendorf Lilly. EJ Lafave. Clara Grace Ahern Landon. Rowena Ellen Lane. Ava Catherine Lausch. Evelyn Rose Lazen. Ariana Leandri. Zachary Eli Lee. Julian Jack Lee Surson. Carolyn Marie Leibovich. Pascal Olivia Leone. Palmer St. Clair Crenshaw Lessenberry. Jenny Mayon Levin. Carly Levin Santalone. Dorothy Jane Levine. Ayana Marie Lewis. Sarah Mia Liberatori. Jackson Henry Lichtenstein. Derek Benjamin Lamone. Ellen Yinyin Liu. Melody Liu. Umaya Natalia Lopez. Citlali Amanda Lopez. Kevin Lopez. Yates Hennen Luff. Simon Lowe. Kate Margaret Luke. Constant Phillips Lunsgaard. Precious Evan Lundy. Avi Mayan. Minerva Makaruya. Stephanie Macedo. Hazel Jean McMillan. Lily Ruth Mador. Lily Magar Matsuoka. Emery James Cada Martin. Emma Margaret Martin. Fiona Hansen Martino. Pip Massey. Naima Lauren McDonald. Sophia Modigliani McGrain. Jada Lee Hope Davidson McGregor. Becky McQuilkin. Harriet Ton McSurdy. Paris Mercurio. Sadie Elizabeth Meyer. Signe Rain Meyer. Sherry Meow. Ryan Robert Miller. Zoe Noel Cousineau Miller. Emily Ann Milnamo. Erzsébet Misangi. Asher Sanders Mitchell. Luce Miyar Mullen. Nicholas Farrell Moen. Aziz Clifford Loparfido Mohammed. William Tyler Moon. Monty Montero. Claire Marie Moran. Caroline Rose Morehouse. Abigail Evans Morris. Piper Rose Morrison. Roxana Vera Morse. Michael Muldoon. Jordan P. Mushler. Basil Joy Mushgrove. Lucy Blue Myers. Samantha Jean Myman. Nandini Nagarwala. Sarah Ariel Naiman. Gilbert Holland Nakayama. Abhishri Nath. Hal James Nathan. Dora Luna Naiden. Nick Nelson. Andy Newman. Ella Lee Taylor Newcomb. Parker Davis Niles. Hannah Chiyoko Nishiura. Alexander John Norris. Jessica Rames Norris. Dina Hiam Nuemi. Zachary Samuel Ntia. Fafa Abina Nuto. Lucy Catherine O'Brien. Jacqueline O. Lauren O'Hare. Claudia Christine Oleas. Mads Olson. Conrad Patrick Oman. Kathleen Ann Weber Omelia. Isaac Christian Osenberg. Georgia Otasevich. Cole Otley. Cecilia Owen. Yep. Sadie Sabrina Irene Owens. Matthew Palacios. Anna Abigail Palmer. Ozum Sabiha Pamukchu. Tucker Panich. Aisha Parmar. Laura Elizabeth Parsons. Sadie Charlotte Pasco Pranger. Aaron Pavlov. Owen James Pazdarak. Heather Rose Pearson. Tashiana Marie Phoenix. Lily Pinchbeck. Orly Panini. Solace Time Porter. Mary Claudia Post. Jack Cordano Povalaitis. Uma Prasad. Thayer William Preston. Farley Thornton Price II. Andrea Prokopan. Syed Zawad Kwazi. Connor Quinn. Elizabeth Ragone. Muntaha Rahman. Naveen Raj Rajadura. Rose Bennett Racer. Harsha Raniar. Brian Razzo. Jonah Reinhardt. Virginia Melody Rice. Kira Richard. Isaac Gray Richmond. Emily Rigby. Oliver Rips. Yasmin Ray Roberts. Courtney Rose Robinson. Clara Elizabeth Rosarius. Leah Rosenthal. Ali Rashni. Ana Carolina Jubianes Sampaio. Elion Samuel Rubin. Shannon Ford Rudek. Haley Danielle Sublai. Amanda Salmons. Haviva Zucker Saltz. Jose Sanchez Jr. Isabel Lorraine Sanchez Foster. Jillian Filana Sanford. Joseph Sangiolo. Gret Lee Sant. Gunja Sarkar. Emma Kate Sauer. Jonathan May Schaefer. Jackson Whitaker Schwam. Sam Schechtman. Owen Johannes Schnell. John Mandanis Schooner. Hannah Louise Shore. Aaliyah Schreiber Goldstein. Heidi M. Scott. Sadie Seaman. Chloe Seaton. Hee Won Soo. Benjamin Shafran Davis. Jackson Satchel Shaw. Logan McIver Shainwald. Alan Shaw. Suniva Brotley Sheffield. Anna Kira Sheik. Huecheng Shi. Shu Chi. Stephanie Selena Schugert. Langelicha Pearl Sabanda. Samuel Morris Sherman Siegel. Tony George Singfield. Tessia Tejaswini Singh Ragan. Monique Desiree Singletary. Harriet Therese Cass Skaranek. Sophia Janae Sledge. Emma Gustav Smith. Julia Robbins Smith. Nola Harper Rose Smith. Ethan Smith Cohen. Izzy Snyder. Jesper Lamb Solomon Solberg. Lucia Soman. Caleb Somboratz. Connor Myung-kyung Song. Chase Alexi Sorter. Lucy Ryan South. CJ Sutherland. Simonida Spasoyevich. Jonathan Taylor Stark. Kate Mackenzie Steifman. Luke Danielle Stenberg. Hannah Sophie Sterner. Alexa Danielle Stevens. Kiernan Alexander Stone. David Stoneman. Catherine Marcia Straub. Benjamin August Sturm. Jillian Flynn Sutliff. Elizabeth Rose Samansky. Sam Elizabeth Tarr. Audrey Tanus Taylor. Ryan Lilly Taylor. Jory Gabriel Teltzer. LJ Shulman Templin. Jacob W. Thompson. June Thorin. Annabelle Jennifer Tolley. Dahlia Tomilchik. Samuel Topper. Quinn Antron. Rebecca Christina Trigo. Estelle Tronson. Wei Ching Tu. I don't even have to look. Kamsirio Chuku Ugokabe. Bet Sebes Vida. Leon Vance. Niels Leon Vanderloo. Mira Vanek Johnson. Michael Philip Vardanian. Alexander Cole Vaughn. Mia Juliet Vasid. Anoka Vanugopal. Nadia Vignola. Charlize Villasenor. Sarah Voigt. Catherine Ione Van Koon. Anna Helena Vosnik. Henry Lyle Wallenmeyer. Ren Orion Waldman. Emily Ruth Waldo. Silas Paul Walker. Chili Maxine Wallace. Meredith Joy Warden. Bo Watwood. Lilia Eliza Welsh. Remsen Snow Welsh. Jasmine Grace Wilkerson. Aleem Wesley Wilkins. Cherish Williams. Francis Remy Wilson. Emily M. Winkler. Chris Wolf. Claire Ann Wolfson. Ruby Maeve Woltring. Hu Chung Xiong. Darren Xu. Xu Taoxuan. Enya Young. Eliza Pruitt Young. Tiffany Yuen. Nicholas Andres Zamora. Zaiqi Zhang. Nope. Qingling Zhang. Jingxuan Zhu. Elf Zimmerman. Peter Conrad Zimmerman. Jake Ryan Zweiback. James Dill.
This concludes the formal commencement celebration for the class of 2023. Congratulations and good luck to you. Please move your tassel from the right side to the left side, symbolizing and formalizing this major life change of going from student to college graduate. Congratulations once again. Would the audience please remain seated while the platform group and faculty recess? We are honored by your presence and look forward to seeing all the good work you will do in the world. Thank you.